My hands are shaking so bad right now, I can barely type this. NGL, I never thought I'd be posting my life's meltdown, but I don't know who else to tell. I'm Ethan, 38, married to Brenda for 12 years. We built a life, a family. Solid. Or so I always believed. Now I'm sitting in my car staring at my dark house after a diverted flight brought me home hours early, and everything just doesn't add up. Okay, so I'm still processing this. My flight to Minneapolis was supposed to be a quick overnight thing, a client meeting back by tomorrow afternoon. Simple. But then the snowstorm hit out of nowhere. Massive delays. I was stuck on the tarmac for what felt like forever. They finally announced we were being diverted, not just to another city, but all the way back home. Safety first, the pilot said. We're not going anywhere near that storm. Awesome, just what I needed. A whole day wasted and back to square one. My first thought was Brenda, like, crap, she's going to be annoyed I'm home early. We hadn't exactly been on fire lately, more like simmering embers, but still it was unexpected. I called her when we finally landed back at our home airport around 9 p.m. Hey, surprise, I'm home early, I said, trying to sound lighthearted. What, already? She asked, a little too quickly. Wow, that was fast. I thought you were stuck in Minneapolis. Nah, diverted. Big storm, I explained, already feeling tired and just wanting to crash. What are you up to? Oh, just chilling, she replied, a bit of a laugh in her voice. Watching that new show we started, the one with the dragons. Kind of boring without you, TBH. All right, well, I'm heading home now, I said. See you in a bit. Can't wait, she chirped. End call. I drove home, mentally prepping for the awkward "so you're home early" conversation. But when I pulled up to the house, it was dark, pitch black, not even a porch light on. And Brenda's car, her little white SUV, wasn't in the driveway. My stomach immediately dropped. What the actual F, I mumbled to myself. She just told me she was home, watching TV. What, was she watching it in the dark from the neighbor's house? This was weird. I sat in the car for a minute, heart thumping. Maybe she just popped out for milk at 9:30 p.m. NGL, it felt off. I grabbed my bag from the trunk, the cold air hitting my face, and walked up to the front door. Fumbled with the keys, pushed the door open, and stepped inside. It was dark, just like outside. But then I heard it, a faint murmur, coming from the living room. The TV, she wasn't lying about that part. It was on. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. She'd lied. She wasn't just watching TV. She'd clearly just gotten home. Or someone else had turned it on to make it seem like she was there. Her car wasn't here when I pulled up, and the house was dark. My head was spinning. What the hell was going on? I hit the light switch in the entryway, flooding the living room with light. The TV was indeed playing some random show. The couch cushions were still plump, like no one had been sitting on them for hours. No half-eaten snack bowls. No blanket she'd supposedly been snuggled under. Nothing. My phone felt heavy in my hand, but I had to call her again. I needed to hear her say it one more time. She answered on the second ring, her voice still bright. Hey, you made it? What's up? Brenda, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Where are you? What do you mean, where am I? I'm home. Just told you, she said, a hint of annoyance creeping in now. Watching TV. Did you forget your keys or something? No, I managed. I'm in the house, and your car wasn't in the driveway when I pulled up, and the lights were off. There was a beat of silence, a long, agonizing beat. Oh, she finally said, her voice dropping. Oh, my bad. I just ran out really quick to get some groceries. Forgot to turn the porch light on. And I just got back, literally right before you called. Groceries at 9:30 p.m.? And she'd specifically told me she was just chilling, watching TV a mere 15 minutes ago. This was a lie, a blatant, clumsy lie. A deep, old sense of unease settled in my stomach. It wasn't anger yet, more like a numb dread. My mind, usually pretty logical, started grasping for straws. Maybe it was a surprise. My birthday isn't for months, but sometimes she does random stuff. Maybe she organized a welcome home thing last minute. She's not usually that spontaneous, but hey, people change, right? I needed an answer, a quick fix to this rapidly escalating weirdness. Brenda's sister Chloe is usually in the loop for any family surprises. I hung up with Brenda, my hand still shaking, and called Chloe. "Hey, it's Ethan," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "Quick question. Has Brenda been planning anything, like a surprise for me, for tonight?" Chloe sounded confused. "A surprise tonight? Not that I know of, Ethan. Why? What's going on?" My last shred of hope for a simple explanation shattered right there. Chloe would know. She always knew. So no surprise. Just a lie. I started pacing the living room, the quiet hum of the TV suddenly feeling mocking. Brenda had been working a lot lately. Late nights at the office. We'd barely seen each other. She said she was trying to get ahead, aiming for a promotion herself. I'd been supportive, of course. Back when I had a chance for a promotion, years ago, I turned it down. It meant more travel, more time away, and we had agreed that family came first. My career stalled a bit, but I never regretted it, not then. I did it for us. Now the distance between us felt like miles, not just physically, but emotionally. Our intimacy had dwindled to almost nothing. I just thought it was stress, work, the usual married life stuff. But this was different. This was a crack in the foundation, a cold, hard lie about something so basic. The first seed of doubt, cold and sharp, took root in my mind. Brenda, my wife, had lied to me, and I had no idea why. My head was still buzzing from Brenda's lame groceries at 9:30 p.m. excuse. NGL, it felt like a cheap shot, like she thought I was an idiot. But it wasn't just that lie, it was everything building up. Lately, Brenda had been working late so much it felt like she lived at the office. Her career had suddenly become this all-consuming black hole. I'd come home, make dinner for myself, watch some TV alone. When she finally rolled in, it was usually past 10 p.m., sometimes later. She'd be exhausted, she'd say, "Just want to crash." And our bed life? Bed life felt like a historical term. It had dwindled to almost nothing. Once a week maybe, then once a month. Now it felt like a distant memory. I tried to talk about it, but she'd always deflect, blame stress, blame my travel, blame me for making a big deal out of nothing. It was a constant argument she'd shut down with a sign in and eye roll. A classic red flag, I guess, looking back. But I just figured she was stressed, overworked. Maybe we just needed a real conversation. I actually thought that maybe this whole grocery lie was just her really clumsy way of avoiding a deeper discussion about us. Like, she didn't want me home early because she didn't want to face the music. That's what I kept telling myself, desperately. But something in my gut just wouldn't let it go. It felt too off, too cold. I walked back to my study, still processing. My eyes landed on Brenda's work calendar, propped up on her desk. That's when it hit me. What if the lie was bigger? What if she wasn't just out for groceries? What if she wasn't even supposed to be here? Impulsively, I picked up the phone. I knew her direct office line by heart. It was almost 10 p.m. No one would be there, right? I just wanted to hear the voicemail, confirm it was off hours. Maybe that would settle my mind. Proof that she was supposed to be home. Not that she was actually there. Just a sanity check. I dialed. 2 rings, 3, and then a man's voice. "Todd Miller speaking." I froze. Todd Miller, Brenda's colleague, one of the senior guys on her team. What the hell was he doing there at 10 p.m.? My heart hammered against my ribs. Todd, hey, it's Ethan," I stammered, my voice sounding foreign even to my own ears. "Brenda's husband." "Ethan, hey man, what's up?" Todd sounded genuinely surprised, maybe even a little cheerful. "Shouldn't you be, on vacation with Brenda right now?" The words hit me. Vacation. My blood ran cold. The phone felt like it weighed a ton. My stomach lurched. Vacation? What vacation? My mind scrambled, trying to make sense of it. Brenda hadn't mentioned any vacation with me. We hadn't planned anything. "Vacation?" I echoed, trying to keep my voice light, casual, like he hadn't just punched me in the face with an invisible fist. "Oh yeah, right. We were supposed to go, but my client meeting got moved up. Had to cancel. You know how it is." I hated how quickly the lie rolled off my tongue, how easily I could spin it. But I had to pretend. Todd seemed to buy it. Tough break, man. That sucks. Brenda sounded pretty excited about it. So what's up? Why'd you call? Everything okay? Yeah, everything's cool, I rushed. Just, needed a document. Brenda mentioned she had a copy of the Q3 projections at home. I thought maybe I could just grab it from her office on the way back to the airport tonight. Since I'm already out. My mind was racing, throwing out any excuse it could grasp. But she's, not home, so I figured she must be still at the office. Guess not, though. Nope, she's definitely not here, Ethan, Todd confirmed. Hasn't been in all week. She told us she was taking a week off. Going away with you, actually. We just got an email from her saying she was extending it through next week, too. Said you guys were having such a great time. The air left my lungs all week. All extended. Having a great time. It wasn't just tonight. It wasn't just a clumsy lie about groceries. She had fabricated an entire elaborate alibi, a whole fake vacation with me, to explain her absence from work. My wife wasn't home watching TV or out getting groceries. My wife was gone. She wasn't just lying about her whereabouts. She was gone on a vacation that didn't include me while telling everyone at her job that she was with me. The betrayal was a physical thing, a sickening lurch in my gut, hot bile rising in my throat. I felt cold, numb, like I was watching this scene unfold from outside my own body. It was worse than I could have ever imagined. So much worse. I managed to mumble some thank yous to Todd, something about just emailing Brenda for the document, and hung up. My hand was shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. Brenda wasn't just lying to me. She was lying to everyone. To cover what? To cover who? I had to play along. I had to pretend everything was normal. If she thought I knew nothing, maybe she'd slip up. Maybe I could figure this out. I looked at the clock. My rescheduled flight for Minneapolis was in 3 hours. I needed to get back to the airport. I needed to act normal. I needed to figure out what the hell was going on. My mind, though completely shattered, started to churn. The logical investigator in me, buried deep under the shock, was waking up. I made it back from Minneapolis, acting like nothing was wrong. Like I hadn't just discovered my wife was on a phantom vacation with someone who definitely wasn't me. Brenda was still away, according to the story she'd fed her work, and presumably me. I needed to keep my cool, pretend I was oblivious. That was the only way I was going to uncover the full truth. The moment I stepped back into our quiet house, my focus narrowed. No more emotional gut reactions. This was an investigation now. I went straight to my laptop, logging into our joint bank accounts and credit card statements. My hands were still a bit shaky, but my mind felt eerily clear, almost detached. Scrolling through the transactions, I started seeing a pattern, a trail of breadcrumbs that, in hindsight, screamed red flag. There were charges for hotels, not just any hotels, but boutique, slightly expensive ones, always about an hour or two's drive from home, and high-end restaurants too. Not the kind we ever went to together, even for special occasions. These dates often lined up perfectly with Brenda's late work nights or those mysterious business trips she'd taken, the ones where she'd always be unreachable, citing bad reception. I started compiling a list, a mental spreadsheet of dates, times, and locations. It was sickening. Every line item, every discrete charge felt like a fresh stab. But then one entry made my blood run cold. A purchase from Prestige Jewelers, a high-end local store dated about 2 months ago. The amount was significant, far more than any gift she'd ever bought me or even anything we'd spent on ourselves recently. My heart was thumping. A diamond ring. That was the only thing I could think of. My first thought was a desperate, fleeting hope. Maybe it was for me, an anniversary gift, or something she was planning for later. But then I remembered the decline in our intimacy, her indifference, the lies. It just didn't add up. I picked up my phone, my fingers fumbling as I dialed the jewelry store. I knew I couldn't just ask about it directly. I needed to be smart. "Hi," I said, trying to sound like Brenda, or at least like a slightly flustered woman. "My name is Brenda, and I bought a ring from you a couple of months ago. I think I might have misplaced the receipt, and I need it for insurance purposes. Could you possibly help me retrieve a copy?" The woman on the other end was perfectly polite. Certainly, ma'am. Can you tell me the approximate date of purchase and the name it was under? Yes, I said, my throat tight. Brenda Miller, around 2 months ago, I believe it was a diamond ring. A few clicks on her keyboard. Ah, yes, Mrs. Miller. I see it here. A lovely men's diamond ring. Quite unique, actually. Did you need the details for the valuation certificate or just the proof of purchase? Men's diamond ring. The words echoed in my ears louder than anything I'd ever heard. My worst fears, until now just vague, terrifying possibilities, had just solidified into a cold, hard fact. Brenda had bought a diamond ring. For a man, not for me. Yes, the valuation details would be great, I choked out, trying to keep my voice steady. Just to confirm everything. The jeweler rattled off the description. Round, brilliant, set in a brushed platinum band, very modern, and there was a custom engraving, Forever Yours, Jay. Is that correct? Forever Yours, Jay. A simple inscription, but it ripped on through me. Jay. Not Ethan, not for me. Yes, that's exactly it, I managed, the lie tasting like ash in my mouth. Thank you so much. You've been a huge help. Can you just email a copy of that to my personal email? It's bmiller@email.com. I gave her Brenda's email address, knowing it would go straight into her inbox, something she'd probably never notice among the hundreds of work emails. I hung up, my hands shaking uncontrollably again. The phone clattered against the desk. It wasn't just a few late nights. It wasn't just a fake vacation. It was a whole other life, a secret romantic life. My wife was buying diamond rings for another man. My initial shock gave way to a cold, burning fury. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment mistake. This was planned, calculated, methodical. I started searching Brenda's office, not just her accounts. I knew she was meticulous. There had to be more. I opened drawers, checked under her keyboard, even scrolled through her hidden files on her computer, the ones she thought were password protected, but I'd seen her type in once or twice. And there it was, a document disguised as an old project report, but filled with coded entries, dates, names or expenses, abbreviated names, places, lunch, Wower J, hotel booking, client meeting, dinner, investor. But now, with the jeweler's revelation, with the credit card statements, the true meaning became horrifyingly clear. Brenda had been systematically covering her tracks, creating a meticulously detailed false narrative for months, maybe even longer. This wasn't a sudden affair. This was an ongoing, deeply entrenched betrayal. My anger, a quiet simmer until now, hardened into a cold, steel-like resolve. There would be no more emotional outbursts, no more desperate pleas for answers. I was done with guessing. I was done with hoping for the best. I would uncover every single detail, every lie, every piece of evidence. I would build a case so precise, so undeniable, that she wouldn't have a single place to hide. This was war, and I was going to win. The Forever Yours jaded inscription was the turning point. It wasn't just suspicion anymore. It was cold, hard proof of a deep betrayal. My meticulous list of hotel and restaurant charges, the coded document, the fake vacation, it all clicked into place. But I knew I couldn't confront her yet. Not without more. Not without something undeniable. Something that wouldn't let her gaslight her way out of it. I needed professional help. I needed a private investigator. I spent hours researching online, reading reviews, looking for someone discreet, efficient, and known for getting results in infidelity cases. I settled on a firm that seemed highly recommended, known for their thoroughness. I set up a meeting under a generic pretext using a throwaway email account. Meeting the PI, a man named Frank, was surreal. Sitting in his nondescript office, laying out Brenda's meticulous lies, felt like a scene from a bad movie. I gave him everything: the credit card statements, the dates of her late nights and business trips, the details of the diamond ring purchase, and its engraving, even the coded document I'd found. Frank listened, impassive, taking notes. "This is quite comprehensive, Ethan," he said, tapping his pen on a pad. "She's been very careful, but you've managed to connect a lot of dots. We'll set up surveillance for her next scheduled work trip, That's usually when they let their guard down. He outlined his plan: covert surveillance, photo and video evidence, tracking her movements. It sounded exactly like what I needed. I gave him the specific dates I'd marked down, dates that corresponded with those suspicious charges and her declared absences. He promised daily updates, discreetly sent to my throwaway email. While Frank's team started their groundwork, I had my own mission: Brenda's work laptop. She sometimes brought it home, especially when working late. I needed access. I cooked up a story about a minor technical glitch with our home network, saying I needed to borrow her laptop for a presentation since mine was acting up. She, surprisingly, didn't question it. She was too busy being busy. The moment she left for her extended vacation, I was on that laptop. It took me a bit, but I found them. Buried deep in a folder disguised as Project Alpha were emails and messages. Not to clients, but to Brad. Dozens of them. Love notes, really. Planning their rendezvous, confirming hotel bookings, talking about their future. Brad, the J on the ring. It had to be the same guy. My hands were shaking again, but this time it was different. It was a cold, quiet rage. Brad. I typed the name into a search, trying to find anything: an email signature, a last name. And there it was. Brad Henderson, a manager in a completely different industry, based in a city about 2 hours away. No professional connection to Brenda at all. Then the first email from Frank's PI firm landed in my throwaway inbox. The subject line: initial surveillance report, Miller. I opened it, my breath hitched in my throat. The photos were devastating. Brenda, laughing, holding hands with a man I now knew was Brad Henderson. They were entering a hotel, checking in. Another photo, them at a restaurant, intimately close. And then the worst. Photos from outside a hotel room window, taken with a long lens camera, showing them, well, there was no denying what they were doing. Intimate, undeniably intimate. Kissing, embracing, the kind of passion I hadn't seen from Brenda in years. Each picture felt like a physical blow. Shattered. That's how I felt. Utterly, irrevocably shattered. 12 years, a life, a family, all of it a lie. I methodically downloaded and backed up every single piece of digital evidence I could find. The emails, the messages, Frank's photo reports. I copied everything to a secure, encrypted drive. Then I started building a timeline, a detailed, chronological account of every lie, every suspicious charge, every piece of evidence. Each entry was a step closer to the inevitable. Frank's final report came a few days later. Brad Henderson, married, kids, a whole other family, just like mine. The layers of deception, the sheer audacity of it all were staggering. My heartbreak hadn't gone away, but it had transformed. It was no longer a raw, bleeding wound. It was a cold, hard knot in my chest. The tears had stopped. The shaking had subsided. What remained was a chilling, methodical resolve. This wasn't just about my pain anymore. This was about justice. This was about exposing Brenda for exactly who she was. The evidence I had, thanks to Frank and my own digging, was overwhelming. But evidence alone wasn't enough. I needed to know how to use it. I needed to turn this pain into a weapon. My first call was to a top-tier divorce lawyer, a shark known for protecting his client's interests, no matter how messy the split. I walked into his office, a man hollowed out but with a burning purpose. I have a wife who's been cheating for months, maybe a year with a married man. She's created an elaborate fake life, including a fake vacation to cover her tracks, I told him, dropping Frank's report, the credit card statements, and the printouts of Brenda's emails with Brad onto his desk. I want everything: custody, our assets. I want her to walk away with nothing, or as close to nothing as legally possible. And I want to make sure the other guy, Brad, pays too. The lawyer, a sharp woman named Eleanor, looked through the stack of papers, her expression unreadable. Ethan, she said, finally, this is extensive. Adultery is a factor in our state for asset division, though not usually a 50-50 split. We can certainly pursue maximum child support, and will fight for sole custody given her deceptive behavior. She outlined the process, the ugly realities of divorce, the financial implications. It was all legal jargon, but I understood the underlying message. I could hit her hard. What about Brad? I asked, my voice low. Can I go after him? His finances? His reputation? Eleanor paused. That's a different animal, Ethan. We can certainly use this evidence to your advantage in the divorce proceedings against Brenda. But direct legal action against Brad Henderson, financially or otherwise, is complicated. You'd be looking at potential defamation if not handled correctly. Unless he directly defrauded you, or you can prove some kind of conspiracy that financially harmed you, it's not straightforward. Her words were a reality check. I needed a different kind of lawyer for Brad, a different kind of strategy. My next consultation was with a criminal defense lawyer, but not to defend anyone. I needed to know the boundaries of exposure. I have irrefutable proof of an affair between my wife and a married man, I told him. I want to expose him. To his wife, to his employer. What are the legal risks for me? He explained it clearly. You can send his wife the evidence? Yes. You can send his employer the evidence if it pertains to his professional conduct, or if his actions somehow affected your shared finances or your wife's work. But you cannot disseminate this information publicly, post it on social media, or make false statements that could be considered defamation. You cannot harass him. You can, however, provide the undeniable truth, backed by evidence, to those directly impacted. So I can send his wife the pictures? I clarified. Yes, you can. It's not illegal to inform someone of their spouse's infidelity, especially with supporting evidence. Just don't add commentary that isn't factual or make threats. And his employer? If his company has a moral clause, or if his affair somehow involves company resources or assets, or if your wife's company policies were violated, yes. But again, stick to the facts and the evidence. Okay, the pieces were starting to fit. I wouldn't get to financially ruin Brad directly in court, but I could unleash a different kind of ruin. A reputational one. A personal one. For Brenda, it would be financial and familial. For Brad, it would be a total exposure. This was the nuclear option. This was the total takedown. I went home and started planning the final confrontation. Not with Brenda, not yet. First, I needed to make sure Brad's world was ready to explode. I began crafting two separate, meticulously detailed reports. One for Brad's wife, a thick binder of Frank's photos, the emails, the credit card charges, a timeline. The other, similar for his employer, focusing on how his actions during business hours or using company resources, if he would tie any of it in, violated company policy. Every piece of evidence was watertight, legally admissible, and impossible for anyone to refute. This was not some emotional outburst. This was a surgical strike. NGL, the thought of what this would do to Caleb and Chloe, my kids, was a constant dull ache. This wasn't going to be easy for them. But Brenda had made her bed. She had chosen this path. And I was going to make sure she and Brad lay in it. My resolve wasn't just about anger anymore. It was about justice. It was about consequences. About showing them that life's costly choices truly unfold. And it's essential to stick around to the end to see just how. I secured all the critical documents. Property deeds, detailed financial statements, our joint investment portfolios. I was ready. With my legal strategies set and my resolve hardened, I started making my own moves. Subtly, slowly, I began transferring some of my personal savings into new accounts, securing funds, doing everything Eleanor had advised to protect myself financially. Brenda was still on vacation, supposedly, but when she returned, I knew the real war would begin. While waiting, I couldn't shake the image of Brenda's sleek leather briefcase. She carried it everywhere, guarded it like a treasure. It was almost always by her side, even when she claimed she was just going to the office for an hour. A couple of times, I'd seen her clutch it possessively. It screamed secrets. One afternoon, a few days after her return from her fake trip, Brenda was rushing out for an important client dinner. She was flustered, juggling her phone and car keys. As she pulled away, I noticed it. Her briefcase, sitting innocently on the passenger seat of our shared car. She'd forgotten it. My heart hammered. This was my chance. I waited until she was well out of sight, then slipped out to the car. My hands, surprisingly steady, reached for the briefcase. The latch clicked open. Inside, it was a Pandora's box of betrayal. Tucked beneath some innocuous-looking work files, I found a meticulously organized folder. First, a detailed calendar, filled with future dates. Not work meetings, but Jay's birthday, anniversary dinner with Jay, weekend getaway, Jay. My gut twisted into knots. These were their future plans, laid out in black and white. Then the love letters, handwritten, flowing script, professing her undying affection for my dearest Brad. I could feel the heat rising in my face, a mix of disgust and burning pain. And tucked among the letters, glossy, intimate photos. Brenda and Brad, posing, embracing, kissing, laughing. My wife in another man's arms, looking happier than she had with me in years. It was sickening, but it didn't stop there. I found receipts, copies of them. Not just the diamond ring I already knew about, but a high-end watch, expensive cologne, tickets to a concert she told me she had no interest in attending, all dated within the last few months, all for Brad. My wife wasn't just having an affair, she was bankrolling parts of it, showering him with gifts. And then the final, most infuriating discovery in the briefcase. Copies of official-looking documents. Bank statements from accounts I didn't recognize. Some with only Brenda's name. Transfer slips showing significant amounts of money moved out of our joint savings into these new separate accounts. She wasn't just cheating emotionally and physically. She was systematically trying to hide assets, to bleed our shared finances dry, probably in preparation for leaving me. This wasn't just impulsive lust. This was cold, calculated financial betrayal. I carefully photographed everything with my phone, every document, every photo, every letter. Then I put everything back exactly as I found it, closed the briefcase, and put it back in the car. A few days later, Brenda casually mentioned, "Oh, I need to pop by the bank tomorrow. Just need to grab some papers from my safe deposit box." My ears perked up. Safe deposit box? We had one joint box, but she never mentioned that one. This had to be another secret. Through a combination of discreet searching in her home office, where I'd already found so much, and a little creative fabrication to a bank teller I was friendly with, I managed to get a copy of the key. Let's just say sometimes being the nice guy who's always chatting with the staff pays off. The next day, while Brenda was at work, I went to the bank. My heart hammered with a grim determination as I inserted the key into the small, cold metal box. Inside, it was a treasure trove of further deceit. More hidden cash, neatly bundled. More financial documents I'd never seen before, including a will I was not aware of, where a substantial portion of her assets, including some of our joint funds that she'd clearly siphoned off, were set to go to a family friend in case of her death. No mention of me or the kids, NGL, that stung. And another wrapped gift, a silk scarf tucked away, presumably for Brad. I photographed everything, every stack of tickets, every document, every item. My camera flash barely made a sound. This wasn't just a few hidden items. This was a complete shadow life, meticulously constructed, designed to siphon off resources and prepare for an exit. As I put everything back, locking the box and returning the key, all the puzzle pieces clicked into place. The late nights, the fake vacation, the hidden assets, the diamond ring, the future plans with Brad. It was all part of an elaborate, calculated plan. Brenda wasn't just having an affair. She was living a double life, systematically dismantling our marriage piece by agonizing piece. The depth of her deception was staggering. I decided the confrontation wouldn't be in some dimly lit room, full of shouting and tears. No, it would be at our dining room table, under the warm glow of the chandelier, during a perfectly prepared family dinner. I needed witnesses, and I needed her to be caught off guard. So I invited Caleb and Chloe, making it feel like a special, celebratory evening. Brenda had been back for a few days, acting like nothing was amiss, but the tension under her forced smiles was palpable to me. I made Brenda's favorite meal, roasted chicken with all the fixings. The house smelled delicious. I even lit candles. When Brenda walked in, she looked surprised, a little flattered. "Wow, Ethan, what's the occasion?" she asked, kissing my cheek, a performance for the kids. She was charming, attentive, asking Caleb about his football practice, Chloe about her new book, oblivious. While everyone was settling in, I discreetly activated the recording device I had placed under the centerpiece. Every word of this dinner, every revelation, every lie would be captured. "Just wanted to celebrate," I said, raising my glass. "Celebrate how hard you have been working, Brenda. Your dedication to your career. It's truly inspiring." My voice was calm, almost affectionate. I watched her preen a little, a proud, self-satisfied look on her face. Caleb and Chloe looked at me, then at their mom, probably wondering what I was up to. "Oh, you," she laughed, blushing slightly. "It's nothing, just doing my job." "Oh, I wouldn't say nothing," I continued, taking a sip of wine. "You know, it reminded me of that night my flight got diverted from Minneapolis. You were so busy, you even forgot to turn on the porch light when you came home late from those groceries, and your car wasn't even there." Brenda's smile faltered, just for a second. Her eyes flickered to mine, a tiny spark of unease. "Oh, that," she chuckled, a little too loudly. "Yeah, I was so rushed. Forgot all about the light. And the car, well, I had just parked it around the corner, remember, trying to be considerate." She looked at Caleb and Chloe, searching for their implicit agreement. They just looked confused. "Right, Emma," I said, my voice still even. I reached under the table, pulling out a small, neatly bound folder. I opened it to the first page and slid it across the table to her. It was a printout of the joint credit card statements, with all the hotel and restaurant charges highlighted in neon yellow. "Funny thing, though, your late nights and grocery runs seem to line up with a lot of these charges for hotels and fancy restaurants. Not the kind of places we usually go, and always out of town, aren't they?" Her face went pale. The color drained out of it completely. Her eyes widened, a raw fear finally creeping in. She stared at the statements, then back at me, her mouth slightly agape. "And speaking of things not lining up," I continued, pressing on, "I actually called your office the night my flight was diverted. Tried to get a hold of you, being home early and all, but Todd Miller answered, and he seemed pretty surprised I wasn't on vacation with you. Said you'd told everyone you were taking a week off, with me, and even extended it." Brenda's breath hitched. She looked like a deer caught in headlights. "Ethan, what are you talking about? Todd's confused. He must have misheard." She tried to sound indignant, but her voice was shaking. "This is ridiculous. You're making a big deal out of nothing." Classic gaslighting. I just smiled, a cold, empty smile. "Am I? Because I also called Prestige Jewelers. Told them I was you, looking for a receipt." I placed the printed email confirmation from the jeweler on the table, right next to the credit card statement. They were very helpful. "Confirmed you purchased a men's diamond ring. Platinum band, round brilliant cut, with a custom engraving." My voice dropped to a whisper. "Forever yours, Jay." Brenda gasped, a sound somewhere between a choke and a sob. Her eyes darted from the documents, to me, to the kids, who were now staring at their mother with wide, frightened eyes. Caleb, usually so boisterous, was completely silent. Chloe looked like she was about to cry. "Ethan, please," Brenda pleaded, her voice cracking. "This is crazy. You're imagining things. This is some sick joke, right? Kids, your dad he's just being difficult." She turned to them, her eyes begging for them to believe her, i.e. didn't let her finish. I reached for another envelope, my hands steady as a rock. I pulled out the PI photos. I didn't say a word. I just slid them across the table. One by one, Brenda with Brad, holding hands, kissing, laughing, entering hotels. The intimacy, the undeniable proof laid bare for everyone, even for her, to see. Brenda stared at the photos, her face crumpling. Her eyes welled up with tears, not of remorse, but of pure, unadulterated shame and panic. She looked from the photos, to me, to our children, her face contorted in a silent scream. She was trapped. She was caught. The air in the room was thick, suffocating. Caleb and Chloe sat frozen, watching their mother's entire world collapse before their eyes. Their faces were etched with a confusion and pain I wished I could shield them from, But Brenda had made that impossible. I leaned forward, my voice barely above a whisper, but cutting through the silence like a knife. Brenda, I said, making sure my recording device caught every syllable, this is just the beginning. Brenda didn't just cry. She broke. She erupted in a chaotic mess of anger, tears, and pathetic excuses. Ethan, please, this isn't what it looks like. It was a mistake. Just a few times, I swear. I was so stressed with work and Brad. He just understood. You're always so busy with your job. I felt so alone. It was a desperate plea, full of self-pity, trying to shift the blame to me. Classic gaslighting even at this stage. She tried to grab my arm to beg for forgiveness, but I pulled away. Mom, what are you talking about? Caleb's voice was small, bewildered. His face was a mask of confusion, then hardening into something I hadn't seen before. Is this why you're always working late? Is this why you haven't come to any of my games? The disappointment in his voice was like a physical blow. Chloe, silent until now, burst into heartbroken tears. Mommy, how could you? You lied to us. You lied to Daddy. She ran to my side, burying her face in my shoulder, shaking with sobs. That was it. That was the final crack in my resolve. No more emotions, just the cold, hard delivery of facts. Brenda, save your excuses, I said, my voice like ice. It wasn't a few times, it was months, years maybe. And it wasn't just physical, it was financial too. I pulled out the next set of evidence, the copies of the bank statements, the transfer slips, the legal documents from her briefcase, and the safe deposit box. You've been systematically moving money out of our joint accounts, setting up secret accounts, and making plans to leave me with virtually nothing. Did you think I wouldn't notice? Did you think I wouldn't find it? Her face was ashen, her tears drying up as she stared at the financial evidence. The full scope of her calculated betrayal was hitting her. Finally, I've already consulted with Eleanor Vance, one of the best divorce lawyers in the state, I continued, watching her intently. She has all of this. Every single piece of evidence. The credit card statements, the PI reports, the emails, the love letters, the photos, the hidden assets, everything. I paused, letting it sink in. Brenda, you will be getting nothing from this marriage. I will be fighting for full custody of Caleb and Chloe, and I will get it. Your infidelity and your attempts to defraud me financially will ensure that. She gasped. No, you can't. Ethan, please, think about the kids. Don't do this. You should have thought about the kids, Brenda, I retorted, the anger finally lacing my voice. You should have thought about us before you started buying diamond rings for another man and planning your secret life. I then turned to the last, most painful part of my plan. And speaking of Brad Henderson, her head snapped up. What about him? Don't you dare. Oh, I damn. I cut her off. I've also prepared a full report, complete with all the photos, emails, and financial details for his wife, and another for his employer. I've even consulted with a criminal lawyer who confirmed that while I can't directly sue him for his actions, exposing a married man's infidelity to his workplace can have severe professional consequences. I let that hang in the air. He has a family, Brenda, just like we did, and you two shattered both of them. Brenda stared at me, her eyes wide with a terrifying realization. The nuclear option, my pro-revenge. It wasn't just a divorce, it was a total takedown. She saw the methodical cruelty of it, the cold, calculating justice I was about to unleash. Her face collapsed, not in tears now, but in sheer terror. She knew. She finally knew the full scope of what she had wrought. Caleb and Chloe, though still processing the raw emotion, were quietly watching, listening. I could see in their eyes a flicker of understanding, a dawning realization that their father wasn't being cruel, but necessary, that their mother had done something truly terrible. Pack a bag, I said, my voice final. You have 1 hour. Your things will be moved out of this house while you're gone. You are not to return. You can stay with your sister or a friend. I don't care, but you are not staying here. The family dynamics, once seemingly solid, were shattered beyond repair. Our life together was over. The immediate split was brutal, clinical. And it was all Brenda's doing. Brenda packed her bags that night, a frantic, tearful mess. She tried to plead, to argue, even to threaten. But my resolve was solid. The kids, still reeling, watched in a stunned silence as she hauled her luggage out of the door. The house felt eerily quiet after she left, a strange mix of emptiness and relief. The contentious divorce proceedings started almost immediately, just as Eleanor had predicted. Brenda, fueled by anger and desperation, tried to fight for every penny, every asset, but my evidence was a brick wall. While the lawyers handled the messy legal battles, I focused on the other half of our nuclear option. This wasn't just about winning a divorce, it was about ensuring accountability for everyone involved. The carefully prepared dossiers for Brad's wife and his employer were sent. Not anonymously. No, I wanted them to know who sent it, who was holding them accountable. They went out via certified mail, tracked and confirmed. The fallout was swift and brutal. I heard through the grapevine, a mutual friend of a friend, that Brad's world imploded. His wife, obviously devastated, initiated divorce proceedings immediately. NGL, I felt for her. She was an innocent party caught in his lies, just like me. Brad's employer didn't waste any time either. The evidence of his business trips with Brenda, the company resources he might have misused, the moral clauses in his contract, it all added up. He was fired, publicly. His reputation, built over years, shattered in a single day. He faced public humiliation, a likely divorce, and a completely derailed career. Justice. Brenda's world and also crumbled around her. The whispers in our tight-knit community started almost immediately after her abrupt departure and the divorce filings became public. The fake vacation story, the truth about her late nights, it all got out. Her professional reputation, which she valued so highly, was severely damaged. Her colleagues, including Todd Miller, found out she'd lied to them all, not just me. The professional consequences, though not as immediate as Brad's, were undeniable. She eventually moved away, unable to face the judgment and scorn. The divorce was finalized after a painful few months. Thanks to Eleanor and the mountain of irrefutable evidence, I secured almost everything. The house, the majority of our assets, and crucially, full custody of Caleb and Chloe. Brenda was left with minimal visitation and a significantly reduced financial standing, a direct consequence of her attempts to hide and siphon assets. Caleb and Chloe, my amazing kids, struggled immensely through it all. There were tears, anger, confusion. They missed their mom, the mom they thought they knew. But as time went on, as they saw their mother's continued self-pity and lack of genuine remorse, and as I patiently explained in an age-appropriate way the depth of her deception and how she had planned to leave us financially vulnerable, they started to understand. They saw my pain, my honesty. Slowly, painstakingly, they sided with me. They chose the truth. Their support, their love, became my anchors. The process of healing was, and still is, a long, winding road. There's a deep scar, a raw wound from the years I lost, the trust that was shattered, the beautiful future I believed we had. I reflect often on the moral cost of betrayal, not just for Brenda and Brad, but for me. The justice I sought was delivered. It was cold, precise, and devastating. I don't regret it. I had to protect myself and my children. I had to ensure consequences. But it came at a price, a profound sadness for the years wasted, the innocence lost. Our story, Brenda's and mine, became a cautionary tale in our circles, a stark reminder of the devastating, far-reaching consequences of infidelity. I found solace in my kids, in their resilience, in their unwavering love, and in the steadfast support of my close friends who stuck by me through the darkest days. The nuclear revenge concluded. Both Brenda and Brad faced their earned consequences, their lives irrevocably altered by their choices. I moved forward, scarred, yes, but resolute. I had taken back control of my narrative, protected my family, and found a way to rebuild from the ashes. It wasn't the life I planned, but it was mine, and it was honest. Life after the divorce, after the storm of revelation and consequence, settled into a strange new rhythm. It was quieter, yes, but not necessarily peaceful right away. The raw wounds of betrayal started to scab over, leaving behind deep, tender scars. My entire focus shifted to Caleb and Chloe. They were my world, my reason for breathing through the pain. I poured every ounce of my energy into being the most stable, most present parent I could possibly be. We talked, a lot. With the help of a good child psychologist, Caleb and Chloe slowly started to process their mother's actions. It wasn't easy. There were days of anger, days of sadness, days when they just didn't understand why. Their relationship with Brenda, once seemingly solid, fractured beyond repair. Her attempts to reconnect were often met with polite but distant responses, a deep-seated lack of trust that even time couldn't fully erase. They saw through her false promises, her continued self-pity. They clung to the truth, and to me. NGL, it broke my heart to see them hurt, but their resilience, their unwavering love, truly saved me. In the aftermath, I found an unexpected strength in being a single father. My identity, once so intertwined with being Brenda's husband, was now solely Ethan, dad to Caleb and Chloe. It was liberating in a way. I slowly, hesitantly, dipped my toes back into the dating pool. It was terrifying. Trust was a concept I had to completely reevaluate. Every gesture, every kind word was scrutinized. I realized I was carrying a heavy shield, a permanent distrust that made true vulnerability almost impossible. I learned to be honest up front about my past, about the betrayal, not as a sob story, but as a defining part of who I am now. Some people understood, some didn't, and that was okay. The entire ordeal left permanent marks on my soul. It fundamentally reshaped how I viewed trust, commitment, and vulnerability. The rose-tinted glasses I'd worn for 12 years were shattered, and I saw the world and people with a stark, often cynical clarity. I often reflected on my pro-revenge, the methodical takedown of Brenda and Brad. Was it worth it? Yes, it was necessary. I needed to protect my kids, protect my future. I needed to ensure consequences. But it wasn't a satisfying kind of revenge. There was no triumphant feeling, just a profound sense of loss. A deep sadness for the years irrevocably lost, for the innocence that was stolen from my children and from me. I came to terms with the fact that full closure might never truly come. There's no magical moment where all the pain vanishes. Instead, there's acceptance. Acceptance of what happened, acceptance of the scars, acceptance of who I've become. The memory of Brenda's betrayal remains, a constant, albeit dulled reminder. It's a harsh lesson, a warning bell that rings when I feel myself getting too complacent. But it no longer defines my present or dictates my future. My priorities are clear now. My children, their well-being, their happiness. Fostering genuine, authentic connections with people who truly value honesty and loyalty. I learned that true peace doesn't come from forgetting, but from learning to live honestly with the truth, no matter how ugly. I maintain extremely limited formal contact with Brenda, only for the children's sake. Birthday invitations, school events, that's it. There's no warmth, no friendliness, just a cold, functional civility. She tried early on to mend things, to apologize, but it felt hollow, self-serving. The trust was too deeply broken. My journey has been a testament to resilience. Forged in the fires of betrayal, I emerged scarred, yes, but also stronger, wiser, and ultimately in complete control of my own narrative. It's not the happy ending I once envisioned, but it's an honest one. And for that, I am profoundly grateful. The dust settled, but the scars remained. Life with Caleb and Chloe found a new normal, a quieter existence built on honesty and rebuilding trust. Brenda's betrayal wasn't a one-time event with a clean end. Its consequences were profound and continued to ripple through our lives. The kids, though resilient, carry the weight of their mother's lies, navigating a relationship with her that will forever be distant, marked by suspicion. NGL, it sucks for them. For me, the trust I once had in people, in the fundamental goodness of a partner, is gone. It's not that I'm bitter, but I'm permanently cautious, always aware of the red flags I missed. Brenda's financial ruin and Brad's public humiliation were definitive, yes, but they didn't erase the years of deception or the quiet anguish. There's no real winning in betrayal, just survival. Our story isn't just a cautionary tale. It's a stark reminder that some choices leave wounds that never truly heal, only fade into dull aches. Dull. The past is a permanent shadow, a cold truth I live with every day, forever changed by what she did. The end.